Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Friday 15-minute, mostly 15-minute video lab. I'm Lottie Hearn, the video coach, and you can see today I've already been joined by my guest. Woohoo! My guest is the wonderful Anthony Stears, who is a fellow professional speaker, and he is known as the phone assassin. Welcome, phone assassin.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to join you. I was all excited. My first ever blab.
I know it's like you know what? I'm over the moon that your first ever blab is actually jumping here on the video blab, so that we can chat about voice and all sorts and playing with our voice.
Yeah, perfect. Well, as speakers, we have to use video all the time, so it's a powerful tool. You've got to make the most of it.
Absolutely. And I'm actually quite surprised that we haven't seen you on Blab, Anthony. I think by Montero we can get Anthony hooked very, very quickly here.
I think I'm kind of already sold, if I'm honest with you.
Even though everybody, we had a total disaster trying to get on here in the first place. But hey, we got her in the end, and that's the key point, really. So let's get on with the show, and then we can find out a bit more about what you do, Anthony, in a second. So the point of today is I want to discuss about the power of your voice. Now, we all know that video, virtual meetings, live streaming is a visual medium, but people often forget that this and the way in which you use this, the voice, this is not just a mime show, because that would be very irritating after a while.
Yeah.
We've spoken about the visual impact the last couple of weeks, Anthony.
Okay.
So the core focus for this week is I'd love to find out from you, bearing in mind, and the reason I've asked you on here is that you for a long time were a phone sales top person doing that. So much so that you ended up training other people to pick up the phone. Good old-fashioned, none of this malarkey, but good old-fashioned, pick up the phone and speak to people, which is almost a dying art. So tell us a bit more about your story, and then we can have a chat about what you recommend for people with the power of their voice and how to use their voice to make that impact.
Okay. Well, quick bit of background about me. I actually started off selling databases or a database profiling tool. So I used to help people identify who their wish list of clients were. And I would help them do that by looking at who their existing happy customers are and looking for more people just like them so we could go and share a case study. And rather than trying to sell to somebody, I ended up writing some telesales scripts because people say, well, I now know who to target, but what do I say to them? What do I send them? And I started to show them about sharing good news stories that basically, to perfect your pitch, you share a good news story that somebody can relate to. So you try and tell them a story that hopefully fits in and talks about how you addressed a problem that is similar to one that they've had. I then basically started making phone calls for people. So I'd help them buy their database. I then started hitting the phones for them. And then once I had a waiting list of clients, my accountant asked me how much money you make from a waiting list. And it grounded me a little bit and made me realize I can't make calls for everybody. So I needed to figure out a strategy of spreading my time and teaching people to fish for themselves. So started to do that quite quickly.
I love that, teaching people to fish for themselves.
Yeah, well, it's
using a phone.
Using the phone, and it's funny because we all wander around with a smartphone now, which apparently makes us smart. Yet the amount of us that choose to do a blog or a post or a tweet or a text or an email to somebody because we're slightly uncomfortable about the conversation. Either we need to tell them about ourselves and it sounds a bit like I'm blowing my own trumpet, or perhaps you have to deliver bad news, or perhaps you're nudging somebody because they've not come back to you and you're fearful that the answer is going to be no. And I think that so many of us hide behind our websites and social media that, for me, I was surprised very quickly after I started training, I was getting invited to come and speak at events, which to me sounded ridiculous. But when it's a full day's training money for a 45-minute talk, I was thinking, wow, maybe this is something I should do more of. But I started
that's actually, I think one of the key learning processes. I know that like myself, you're a member of the Professional Speaking Association in UK and Ireland. You're a London member, aren't you, Anthony?
I'm actually a Thames Valley.
Thames Valley.
But I tend to go between there and London, and I try and get around the regions. I'm going to be coming to you now. I've got my new contract in Ireland. So
we will get you in Dublin.
Yes.
I think did when you started speaking more and doing kind of big audience live training or live tips, did that shift the way in which you were using your voice or the things that you were then saying when you were working with people, or when you're actually doing your cold calls and using how you use your voice?
Yeah. I think I was kind of lucky in the way that the reason I'm quite good on the telephone is I'm quite good at conveying emotion and passion in my voice without them seeing you. And something that I tend to fight with field sales guys, they always say, well, I'm so much better face to face because I can read people's body language. Well, I actually believe if you fully tune into a conversation, so close your eyes when you're on the phone to somebody, you can read body language. Because you can tell what environment they're in, you can tell from the tone, volume, pace of their voice, tells you how they're feeling, what they may be doing, and it's tuning in on that I think is really powerful. So for me, if somebody was to tell me some good news, so for example, if we spoke and I went, how are you doing? And you went, oh, brilliant, I've just landed a really big contract. I'd go, oh, fantastic, that's awesome, Lottie, well done. Tell me more about, and it's that.
As opposed to, oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
That sounds so exciting. Well, I'm really excited for you, Anthony.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And there's that cliche of smile while you dial, which a lot of call centers kind of use. And it's really important. You can hear a smile, but you can also, on the telephone in particular, go the wrong way. And I think it applies to video as well. So particularly with females that I deal with in call centers, I have to get them to bring their energy levels down slightly for some of them, because if they're too chirpy and bubbly, oh, hello, my name's da, 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 and I'm like this, you instantly fall into that category where people assume you must be in a call center. You're too bubbly and cheerful, you must be in sales. And for those people, I basically say, by decreasing the volume, you can maintain the same amount of passion and curiosity in your voice, but without trying to come across too bubbly and friendly, you almost don't fall into that trap of automatically being classed as you must be a salesperson. You're far too bubbly.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it actually comes in, obviously, with the acting background. Like, one of the first things that you learn on stage is how to stage whisper. And actually, you're projecting your voice to the back of the theatre. And a lot of that is by bringing in, as you said, if it's all too high and bubbly and exciting, acceptable, then that's when the irritation from vocal habits can come in. Because remember, I'm always saying on camera about the confidence on camera, there are things that work, there are things that simply distract. So you need to know for yourself what works. But a few key things about the voice are vocal variety holds interest. And bass notes, especially in women, we all need to be able to have musicality and range and variety. But the bass notes are the notes that give us credibility. So you'll often hear on video, or if you think
it's
of your
face that gives you your authority as a female, apparently.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
And it's that favourite presenter. For me, it's always Richard Attenborough, who does his slow, deep voice. Do you have to spend quite a long time helping people out with that, Anthony?
I don't spend a huge amount of time, but what I do with a lot of people is I get them to phone themselves and leave themselves a voicemail.
What a brilliant idea. I love that.
It's amazing. It's how I realised I sound quite camp on the telephone. I don't know if you've ever listened to if you've ever left a message for your other half on the way home and then you've actually been the one to press play on the answer phone, you kind of go, oh God, do I really sound like that? And once you realise what you sound like, you can then take steps to slow it down or be clearer. And that's what I say to people. Say, leave a message like you are trying to get hold of yourself. And then I say to them, brilliant, can you just try and write down your phone number, but only listening to how you said it? Because they then go, oh, can you call me back on 07? Yeah. And it's like, well, hang on a second.
It is that pace. It is that learning to get the pace and the pause. I mean, for me, I'm like, I said last week I'm 10 to the dozen, and some cheeky person turned around and said, what, if only 10 to the dozen, Lottie?
See, I get the same thing where people say I speak really quickly. But what we do is the speed in our voice actually comes through as enthusiasm, as opposed to nerves where I'm trying to get through my pitch because I'm trying to read it and get all the way to the end. Because if I get all the way to the end of my pitch, you might say yes. Yeah, there's a difference between, oh my God, I'm so excited, I've got so much to tell you, as opposed to, oh my God, I've got a lot to read through, and you just go kind of regimented. But going back to you said about the vocal the variety there, I saw a brilliant video of Jeremy Nicholas, and he talked about a lot of us speakers want these mics that sit here, or the lapel mics, because it makes us feel like we're on telly. And he went, what you really want is a handheld mic, because if I want to shout, I can pull my mic away. But if I need to whisper, I can whisper, and you can still. And it, like you said, it's that stage whisper that kind of says, "Hang on a second, I want to tell you a secret."
Yeah, sorry, I'm just typing down Jeremy Nicholas. He's at Jeremy Nicholas's Twitter, isn't he?
Yes.
So at Jeremy Nicholas tip is use a handheld mic.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry, I'd muted myself there, so you probably didn't hear me saying that. But maybe you lip read me saying that, because that's actually another tip to remember is, and what you were saying earlier, Anthony, about how we can speak fast and still be understood because we bother to use our mouth, articulation.
Yes.
Pronunciation, enunciation. We've had a few chats and comments. I'll come back to the comments at the end. There's some very funny things, very funny conversations going on at the side here, and a few people joining us. Hillary's in the house. Angie's in the house. And I think that the articulation is something that people often forget. I always love to get people warming up by your articulators, the muscles in your mouth and tongue that enable you to have a clearly spoken voice are the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. And that's actually a really good warm-up, a vocal warm-up. Anytime you're doing tongue twisters or vocal warm-ups, start off going for clarity rather than speed. What's your top tip for warming up for articulation?
I always say to people, just think about what you want to say before you say it, because you then find the right words. It's nice to do this because we're having a conversation and it is very much off the cuff. We know the sorts of things we're going to talk about, but knowing that we were going to talk about voice, I have had a little think about some of the stuff I do with my clients when I'm training, or the stuff I speak about, so that I know I've got something useful to impart into the conversation. From a warm-up perspective, if I've got a big call or I'm about to start hitting the phones, I drink lots of tea. I'm very British, so I always start with a cup of tea. I always make sure I've sort of cleared my throat beforehand, because sometimes that can make you sound nervous. One of my favorite things generally, particularly if I'm in the car, is singing. Because on the way to gigs, I tend to sing to the radio because it does warm up your voice. And I don't know if you've ever been woken up by a phone call before, and then you've tried to put on a normal voice, like you weren't asleep because somebody's phoned you in the afternoon on a Sunday, for example, but you try and think, you'd wake up and you try and speak as if I'm normal, but people can usually tell in your voice, oh, have you been dozing? Are you sleeping on the sofa? And you can tell because you haven't warmed up your voice. So cups of tea, lots of singing. I think music is a good one.
Yeah, I think people often forget that people will stretch in the morning and get their body ready and going, but people do forget that this is actually a tool. And as an actor, if we didn't have this as a performer, we don't have it as a speaker for yourself. If you don't have your voice, it's very, very tough. And probably like myself, you've probably had the times where you've had to go on stage and you're speaking and you can actually do it. This water is your lifesaver for that one. That's the tip you'll keep. There we go. Somebody else has just jumped in here and said, I keep water handy. And
yes.
We're near the end. God, can you believe we've nearly done 15 minutes here, Anthony?
Yep.
It's amazing. So I'm just going to have a quick flick through the messages and quotes that people have been saying here. So I love John from Toastmaster JGB. Anthony, you were related to Colin Farrell, the phone assassin. Haha. And thank you to Gina Carr, two of my favourite people, and Terry's in the house as well. And I love the fact, Roy, I knew as soon as you mentioned that your voice can say so much about you without having to have the visual there, that Roy Montero was going to go, yay, because that's what he's all about. He's known as the voice of Blab, because he only uses his voice in a photograph here on Blab. So, and thank you, Terry, for putting all the quotes up at the side here that we've been giving as advice. This is what I love about this, is people keep putting up comments and giving the feedback. So there you go. Your voice allows me to read body language without seeing you. Very, very good point there, Roy. Thank you for that one. And let me see what Terry says here. Answer the question. Oh, that's just a quote there. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us here. Anthony, thank you so much to you. Just before you go then, as a phone assassin, people who use their voice to build their business, what would be your number one voice tip for people? On the spot.
I would give them the exercise that I use in my workshop, which I use to wind up marketing people and try and justify why you have to phone people and not email them. Some of you guys have probably seen this sentence before, but if you write down, I didn't say he stole the money, it's a very simple sentence. However, if somebody sends it to you in writing, it means one thing. If you say it but put emphasis on any one of those words, it totally changes the meaning of that sentence. So there's 7 words there, there's 8 meanings, and you haven't even got into curiosity, concern, or any of the stuff that you could also do with your voice. I think understanding that is crucial, because then you realize how powerful your voice is, how you can sow seeds with people by suggesting things and implying things and letting them come into their own conclusion. And that doubles with a quote that I saw from an NLP master trainer that I used to work with. And what he says is, the problem with communication is people listen to reply, not to understand. And if you don't make yourself understood, you make it so easy for them to not listen to understand, but purely to reply.
Too right. And I've here we go. Turn my microphone up again. That always helps too. I was just saying too right. And here I am busy trying to type that up for the quote that you've got there. The problem is with communications is people listen to reply, not rely. I actually typed in rely, not to understand.
Yes.
And the thing about multitasking, no, you can't see, you spell things wrong. I'm terrible on Blab at just typing out a quick message and going send and then going, oh, typo.
Oh, yeah. Well, you may have all noticed I haven't typed because I'm on my phone and I don't want to start messing with it. So I'm not being rude to anybody who's thinking, why hasn't he responded? But I'm around, available. My number is all over the internet. So anybody who wants to talk to me that's listening to this, I'll even give you some feedback on how your voice comes across on the phone if you want to give me a call.
Yeah, brilliant. And by the way, folks, do get in touch with Anthony. He is absolutely fabulous. I'm putting his the link into his website there for everybody. One of the best talks on the Sunday that Anthony and I were sharing the stage at the Professional Speaking Association mega conference last year is hearing Anthony at the beginning of his talk stand up on stage and say, you know what? I'm not going to give 3 tips, 5 tips, 7 tips. I'm going to use these next 20 minutes to give as much information and as many tips to help you as I possibly can. Yeah. And I just went, I love this man. He's fabulous.
Yeah. And ironic that a room full of speakers don't want to pick up a telephone and talk, yet they expect somebody to pay to hear their voice in their keynote.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, actually, in a room full of speakers, because I was talking about Confidence on Camera beforehand, in a room full of speakers, there were only a few people who put their hand up to actually get up live on stage and get coached and feedback live on stage there as well. Too.
And I thought you did brilliant there.
Oh, thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Well, look, everybody, get in touch. Anthony is at the Phone Assassin. No, yes, at Phone Assassin. And I loved, what's your quote? I was saying, how do you spell assassin again? Go on, tell us how you spell it.
Well, I help people get through the door. So just remember, I'll get your ass in. ASSASSIN. There you go.
That's how you spell assassin. It's a bit like Mississippi. M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback, I, Mississippi. Flowing down to New Orleans. I always love that. Guys, it's been more than 15 minutes. I need to turn this into the Friday 20-minute video blab, really, I think.
I want to do another one. I don't want to.
I know. Well, I'd love to get you back, and we'll get some more tips from you another time, Anthony. And because I'd actually love
We're going to chat again next Wednesday, aren't we? Is that right?
Sorry?
Are we doing something next Wednesday afternoon as well? Have I got
are we doing something next Wednesday afternoon? We can easily be doing something next Wednesday afternoon. Absolutely. But the one reason I'd love to get you back, Anthony, is because I'd like to hear your thoughts about, are people moving from having phone calls to actually doing more video chats using Skype and the video chat tools? So it'd be great to hear from your industry and with your knowledge and skills. I know Terry and Gina do that all the time.
Just counting, I've done 5 or 6 Skypes and video calls this week myself.
And I'd love to hear kind of the opinion from everybody actually here. Terry, you can always jump in as well for what works then, and what is the difference between if you're planning to have a video phone call with a new client, or if you're using just your voice phone call. Is there a difference in how you plan that call? So I'd love to get you back to talk about content and what you say in those sorts of calls and video calls that help you boost your cold calling. Because I love the quote on your site, Anthony, that says you're all about opening doors and creating opportunities. I think that's fantastic. And the fact that you cure phone phobia. I help people cure the camera phobia. So we're between us. We'll get rid of all the phobias out there, shall we? We'll get rid of all the phobias.
Let's do it.
Right. Well, next week, Anthony, thank you so much. Next week is going to be slightly different, boys and girls, because I'm going to be doing a blab live from it's Daffodil Day here in Ireland, which is the big annual fundraiser for the Irish Cancer Society. And having gone through that myself and having a little bit of a scare again right now, I always I've loved doing Daffodil Day the last couple of days. So I'm going to do a live video blab on the street with the mobile phone. And it'll be all about seeing, can I blab mobile? What works? Does it work? We'll have a bit of a play around. So anybody who wants to join next week, let's all join on our mobile phones. Anthony's on his mobile.
Same time next week?
Same time next week. Starts at 1:30 GMT. That's 8:30 Eastern Coast of America, and 9:30 p.m. in 9:30 p.m. in Asia. So Gina, yes, let's get everybody on the mobile phones next week, and we'll all see how does it work doing a blab that's purely from mobile, because this is all. There you go.
This is my smile wall, by the way.
I love the smile wall. This is the joy of doing phone calls by video. Love it, love it, love it. So everybody, I'm going to stop the recording now.
Happy
Say
Friday,
goodbye.
everybody.
Thank you. But we will stay on for a little bit of a chat. So stick around. Chat to you later. Please do put any questions in there that you want us to answer in the video blab, or people you want to see, want me to ask if I can get them on screen. Let me know. Okay. So that's the end of the recording. See you next week.